What's up, nerds, and welcome back to That Nerdy Site. I'm Frank Pisani, and today I'm going to be running down That Nerdy Site's collective best games from 2021. With another year behind us, Trevor, Cameron, Logan, and myself sat down to discuss our favorite games of 2021. So, with multiple people creating multiple different lists with many different games, how did we create our overall Site's Game of the Year list? As we have in past years, we went through our individual lists together, and then Trevor tallied up all the overall results. Number 10 games earned 1 point, number 9 games earned 2 points, and so on, with each of our number 1 games getting a full 10 points toward their overall total. Then top scoring points define the list. Among the 4 of us, we featured 26 unique titles across all of our individual lists this year. If you want to check out the full list of games, you can click here to catch the full episode of that podcast, and I've also included the link to the full written version over on That Nerdy Site down below in the description. Without further ado, here's That Nerdy Site's best games of 2021. Number 10, Life is Strange True Colors. Trevor banged the drum for Life is Strange True Colors since its release back in August, but none of the others were able to find the time for it before the end of the year. As Trevor's number 2 game of 2021, it just barely cracked the top 10 here, but he praised the performances, beauty, and emotional resonance, declaring it his favorite Life is Strange title and one that everyone else should definitely try and find time to experience. Number 9, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart technically had the same overall point total as Life is Strange True Colors and could be considered a tie, but with the support of both Trevor and myself, we gave it the edge over the prior title. Rift Apart is an excellent new chapter in the Ratchet and Clank series, with the trademark action platformer feeling as good and looking better than it ever has. The multiverse hopping adventure gave Insomniac the opportunity to introduce great new characters and litter the game with Easter eggs galore. Number 7, Resident Evil Village and It Takes Two. Our only true tie of 2021 is an interesting one, being Resident Evil Village and It Takes Two, but both games earned accolades from Logan, Trevor, and myself. Both Logan and myself appreciated how well Resident Evil Village felt playing, and how the gameplay was a great continuation of the first-person survival horror elements that were introduced in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But we also agreed that the game might burn through its most interesting characters and ideas a little bit early on in the campaign. Meanwhile, Logan and Trevor praised the endlessly varied and charming gameplay ideas of It Takes Two, which you can enjoy via their full playthrough playlist here, but they also agreed that despite what the Game Awards may have deemed, it's not a family game, and the unlikable characters, story, and uneven pacing were among some of the game's weaker elements. Number 6, The Artful Escape. The Artful Escape was my runner-up for Game of the Year this year, and with a couple additional points from Trevor, it was able to claim the number 6 spot on this list. Trevor praised the same style and aesthetic that led this game to be his PAX East 2020 game of the show, and it really resonated with me, who loved the music, look, and story, and the overall presentation of Francis Vendetti's journey of self-discovery across the cosmos. Number 5, Psychonauts 2. Another entry championed by Trevor and myself, Psychonauts 2 breaks into the top 5. Despite having only ever played the opening of the original Psychonauts in the lead up to this entry, Trevor absolutely adored his time with Raz and his supporting cast of wonderful characters. And I think it's an incredible culmination of the storytelling I've been a longtime fan of from Double Fine and Tim Schafer. The gameplay was routinely excellent with some of the best and most creative level design of the year, and the game's examination of mental health was top-notch, adding a much appreciated dose of heart to the very fun adventure. Number 4, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. For the very first time since launching That Nerdy Site back in 2019, we had 2 members with the very same game of the year this year. Both Trevor and Cameron had the latest expansion for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker at the top of their lists. Trevor spent a few hundred hours in 2021 playing through all of the rest of Final Fantasy XIV's story to get ready for Endwalker, and he found the whole experience to be a great deal more welcoming than his prior efforts back in 2017. And so Endwalker has topped his rankings as a phenomenal culmination of the 10 years of the Final Fantasy XIV storyline. Cameron even went so far to declare Final Fantasy XIV his favorite game of all time, dethroning Tetris Effect, thanks to the incredible characters and story that Square Enix has shared across this wonderful ongoing MMORPG. But even with 2 of That Nerdy Site's editors giving the game top marks, unfortunately it wasn't enough to crack the top 3. Number 3, Hitman III. Hitman 3 fittingly takes the 3rd place spot in our Game of the Year rankings this year, just ahead of Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. As the first game on our list with support from 3 of the 4 gaming editors at the site, Trevor, Cameron, and Logan all got behind this game this year. All 3 finally came around on the incredible design work IO Interactive has been building upon in their World of Assassination trilogy of games, taking the opportunity to play through many of the levels from the prior 2 installments in the series since Hitman 3 made it easy to enjoy all 3 games from within the same launcher, Trevor and Logan playing through the Dartmoor level for the first time was one of our favorite That Nerdy Site plays of the year, and IO Interactive's continued support of the game made it one of our favorites to keep coming back to. Logan especially can't wait to see what they do next with their eventual James Bond game. Number 2, Deathloop. Our runner-up for Game of the Year, again with support from Trevor, Cameron, and Logan, is Deathloop. Arcane continues to set themselves apart as masters of the immersive sim genre, creating incredibly designed levels for us to explore and traverse as we decide whether or not to approach a stealthy gameplay style or go on a full-on murder spree. The assortment of weapons and abilities made Deathloop fun for a wide array of playstyles, and the way the maps changed throughout the day, or as certain objectives were met, made every loop engaging on the way toward completing that perfect day. While Trevor still prefers the low-high chaos approach of the Dishonored series and the options for non-lethal takedowns and gadgets, he, Cameron, and Logan all agreed that the retro-futuristic aesthetic of Deathloop was easily more engaging than the whalepunk vibes of Arcane's earlier work, and the world they've created this time might be their best work yet. And our number one That Nerdy Site Game of the Year for 2021 is Emily is Away 3. Trevor predicted during a Game of the Year Watch podcast that we recorded back in July that Emily is Away 3 was probably going to be That Nerdy Site's Game of the Year, given the fact that it was beloved across all 4 editors here, and sure enough, 6 months later, that's exactly how things played out. As with Borderlands 3 and Ghost of Tsushima before it, Emily is Away 3 also continues the tradition of the Game of the Year being the only title across all 4 editors' personal lists, and it follows in Ghost of Tsushima's footsteps as being Logan's personal Game of the Year as well as the overall site's winner. We all found Emily is Away 3 to be a wonderful culmination of the works Kyle Seeley has produced, moving beyond the AIM-centric nostalgia of Emily is Away and Emily is Away 2 into the early Facebook era with the latest title. Emily is Away 3 moves away from the chase of trying to be with Emily or Evelyn and gives the player the opportunity to live in a relationship with her over the course of senior year. The cast of characters expands beyond those romantic interests as well and does an incredible job of fleshing out the larger high school experience. And once again, Kyle expertly hones in on nostalgic elements of the era of Facebook many of us had otherwise forgotten, like the lists and surveys or even giving digital birthday gifts. With full playthroughs of the game from both Cameron and Trevor, Trevor's full playthrough of Emily is Away 1, and Logan joining him for Emily is Away 2, a full spoiler cast of Emily is Away 3, and an interview with creator Kyle Seeley, Emily is Away 3 was probably the most covered game from That Nerdy Site in 2021, so it's fitting that it also takes the overall Game of the Year award this year. Thanks for watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the links down in the description, and remember to stay nerdy and be good to each other.